A superstar's attire is one of the most important things about their presentation. Although the superstars in WWE have somewhat of a say in relation to what their gear looks like, they don't get the definitive say. And if WWE Chairman Vince McMahon wants a superstar to wear a certain attire in the ring, they're going to have to put personal preference aside and just simply wear it. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 WWE superstars who hated their attire. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also be sure to check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. Number 10. Mankind Original Mask. When Mankind made his debut in '96, the nature of his character was a mentally deranged miscreant who liked to hide in the boiler room of the arena. One of the key parts of Mankind's presentation was the mask, which would eventually become just as iconic as Mick Foley himself. Interestingly, the original mask that Mankind would wear was actually designed for The Undertaker, but The Undertaker rejected the idea, so WWE consequently used the design for Mankind. According to Foley, during his A&E documentary, he loathed the mask. He stated that it was smelly and often uncomfortable to wear. Foley would even state that he would purposely go into the boiler room before his matches to get into character because this helped him put up with the foul smell which was emitting from his rotting mask. Number 9. The Undertaker, his mask. In 1995, The Undertaker suffered an eye injury that was so severe he almost lost it entirely. The dead man needed to protect his eye whilst it healed, so they wanted the dead man to wear a mask. Taker reportedly had a ton of reservations, as The Undertaker suddenly wearing a mask would be a huge change for the character, and it may ruin the mystique of it entirely. Taker wasn't a fan of most of the designs that WWE offered him, and he reluctantly settled on a Phantom of the Opera style mask. As soon as the dead man's eye had fully healed, the mask was immediately ditched, and Taker would never want to wear it again. Number 8. Ricochet, his tights. A Ricochet in 2021 decided to wear jeans for his wrestling attire. This was a drastic change for Ricochet, and according to the High Flyer, this was because it didn't make sense for him to wear flashy gear when he was there for a fight. Ricochet would discuss this change on Devon Dudley's Table Talk, and the one and only added,
"Basically, I just stripped away all the not flash, I don't want to say flash. I kind of set a goal, kind of like in Japan, like all the new kids, they start out with black boots, black trunks. That's all you get. You got to work your way up to get in gear. So it's kind of a mental. Okay. It's like a mental. But right. I feel like at the same time, I feel like in the ring, I'm more direct. I'm gonna come at you straight. So I'm just more like I'm more in a mental state of like I'm here in the ring for like business. You know what I mean?
All right.
So like I'm here to fight. I'm here to fight.
The attire change wouldn't last long, as Ricochet would soon transition back to the flashy gear, so it was clear that someone in upper WWE management wasn't impressed with the attire change. Number 7. Edge, borrowed gear. A WWE Hall of Famer, Edge is a superstar who lost his gear on more than one occasion. On one occasion, Edge lost his gear prior to a house show in the summer of 2007, and this forced Edge to borrow another superstar's gear. Whose gear, you may ask? Well, that would be the trunks of former WWE Tag Team Champion Trevor Murdoch. Murdoch and Edge have completely different body types, meaning it was unlikely that Murdoch's attire would be a good fit. Plus, Edge and Murdoch had completely different attire styles. Edge opted for the longer tights, and Murdoch wore the more traditional trunks. Edge no doubt hated the fact that he couldn't wear his original gear, but with Edge being a consummate pro, it unlikely affected his in-ring performance. Number 6. Jericho's tights. When Chris Jericho made his return to WWE in 2007, something was missing. His character wasn't just clicking, and everyone knew that Jericho needed a change. He would turn heel and completely alter his presentation. He would embark in a feud with Shawn Michaels, which was widely regarded as the best feud of Jericho's entire career. Jericho would begin to wear a suit to the ring, and he also changed from tights to trunks for the first time in his career. But Jericho admitted that he disliked wearing the tights in the era as they didn't really fit with the newly evolved character. He wanted the presentation to be a complete variation to his prior character, so naturally he introduced the trunks, which was a welcome change. Number 5. Triple H, biker shorts. Triple H was the face of Raw in 2003, and the game taking away time from the ring could have been bad news for the Raw brand. Therefore, when Triple H suffered a groin injury, WWE did everything they could to avoid Triple H taking time off. They combated this by introducing brand new gear for Triple H. Gone were the traditional trunks, and in their place were biker shorts. These looked rather odd, and fans weren't even aware that Triple H was hurt. They just assumed that this was new gear for the game. Triple H wasn't a fan of the shorts and neither were the fans, and according to the Cerebral Assassin on Twitter in 2016, they were necessary but without a doubt unfashionable. The game tweeted, "Compression shorts after a torn groin, necessary to compete, and unfashionable." Number 4. Dean Ambrose in trunks. But during Dean Ambrose's days in FCW, he would wear traditional trunks. This wasn't something that the former champion was keen on, and when he got to the main roster, these were ditched in favor of long combat pants and then eventually jeans. During his 2015 interview with Sam Roberts and Katie Linendoll, Ambrose explained why he wore jeans for his matches. He revealed that it makes no logical sense for him to wear trunks and stated, "Traditional wrestling trunks come from like the 1920s, like George Hackenschmidt and Karl Gotch, because they were going to get really close and grapple and have like a 90-minute really tight wrestling match. That's like really old school wrestling, so they wore the trunks so they could slip in and out of holds, the way an amateur wrestler wears a singlet. It's very old school for old school wrestling, but in today's WWE and like what sports entertainment is and stuff, it's a whole different thing. It's almost like some kind of like urban combat. It's like, what are we going to be doing Sunday? We're going to be climbing ladders, outside the ring, inside the ring, going through tables, you know what I mean? So I'm like, why would you be wearing underwear? It makes no sense. What kind of a man puts on underwear to fight? If I were in the bar and we got into an argument and I was like, alright, that's it, let's take this outside, take your pants off, let's go, and underwear outside right now? It makes no sense. Number 3. The Undertaker, his Survivor Series 2000 gear. The Survivor Series in 2000 was a special night for Taker. It marked the 10-year anniversary of the Deadman making his WWE debut and would be facing Kurt Angle for the WWE title. Although it was a monumental night for Taker, all fans could remember following the pay-per-view was his horrendous tights. The Deadman would wear hideous snakeskin style tights. These would be worn one time and one time only, as even the Deadman was clearly embarrassed by the unfortunate appearance. There were rumors that this was specifically made as The Undertaker wanted to wear something unique for the pay-per-view. However, it's a more common belief that The Undertaker had his baggage misplaced at the airport and he had to borrow the gear of his friend, The Godfather. Number 2. Cody Rhodes, Stardust attire. The Stardust character was one of the most infamous characters in recent memory. Cody Rhodes would transition into Stardust in 2014 and for the most part it was virtually a carbon copy of Goldust, albeit with a few minor differences. Cody had admitted in a number of interviews that he strongly disliked the character, specifically the bodysuit he had to wear. In fact, when Cody returned to WWE at WrestleMania 38, it was a set condition that the Stardust character would never be seen again. While speaking to Ariel Helwani for BT Sports' WrestleMania Live review show, Cody stated, "There wasn't any true guarantees. There was a request. I said I never want to ever see Stardust ever again, and I never want to hear it and talk about it. I never want to see it, and it was a handshake and that was all I needed. And the first thing I did in the match last night was a random Stardust reference." I thought, what are you doing? You're going back on your own strange request. But other than that, it's complex to get this all together. Maybe one of wrestling's biggest contracts, which I'm so flattered about. I'm like, gosh, I'm happy. And I have a child, so yeah. And number 1, Kane in his original mask. The original Kane mask was worn by the WWE Hall of Famer between 1997 to 2002. Although visually impressive, it was incredibly restrictive, and it was reported during the early years of Kane's career that the mask made it difficult for Kane to breathe. Therefore, in 2002, WWE decided to introduce a brand new mask for him. It would become a half mask, meaning that Kane's mouth would be clearly visible. This made it a lot easier for Kane to breathe, and the mask still managed to maintain the mystique and mystery of Kane's persona. This new mask would only last a year, as in 2003, they would make the controversial decision to unmask Kane to give the character a new lease of life. But there you have it folks, 10 WWE superstars who hated their own attire. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.